Moving on up.
That's right. To the sky high. Well,
to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
Yes, moving on up at the scouting combine. Andrew Mason and I will be there, are going to be there. You'll be in Indianapolis right now. I'm probably in there right now when people are watching this. Yes, we're pre-recording this Monday show. We
He
had
cheated.
to, Mace, because we're going to the combine. We're there, baby. We're boots on the ground watching for risers and fallers.
Exactly. Who's going to be moving on up to the deluxe apartment in the sky, right? Who's going to get themselves a piece of the pie, right?
Exactly.
That's what this is all about. It may be the underwear Olympics, but between the medicals, between the interviews with teams, the quarterbacks getting at the whiteboard, and then, of course, the workouts that can maybe open some eyes and make you take a second look back at the film, we'll learn a lot over the next few days.
Yeah, and it grinds my gears when people say underwear Olympics. Yeah, we get it. It is workouts. It's not really football, but it's not nothing. They have the combine for a reason, and we had Bo Nix as our cover athlete today on our thumbnail because I think it's Nix that could have the most to prove. McCarthy will do it on the whiteboard, but I think it's Bo Nix and that response coming back from a Senior Bowl where he seemed a little slow. You and I both talked about that. I think Bo Nix could work his way back into that top 12 conversation with a good combine.
Well, you mentioned the reason they have the combine. One of the reasons they have it is standardized measurements, height, weight, hand size, etc. So, even though a lot of these guys got measured at the Shrine in the Senior Bowls, for example, and the NFLPA game as well. But yeah, it's another step in the process, and you want to see how the player responds, right? And another thing that happens is the combine is an experience that will test the patience of these players, right? Because your days are highly regimented. You're going from interview to interview. You're getting ready for the workouts. You're going, you have the day where you're doing the bench press, right? You're going through all of these stages. You're getting you're getting your medicals done by every team. So this is something. It's a mental endurance test, right? I'd say more so than a physical. It's about the mental side of it because you get into working for an NFL team, playing, it's a grind, right? In college, it's not that you're not working hard in college, but there's a lot of other things going on. And certainly there are limits on how much work you can put in, how long the practices can be, how long the meetings can be. The NFL has limits, but those limits are a lot higher because, you're not worried about class, right? This is your full-time job. So this is part of the test involved with that.
Yeah, and these players are going to be, honestly, Mace, they're going to be stressed. And in reality, they're going to be stressed on purpose because they could do it where you only meet with certain teams this day and certain teams. No, it's everything all the time. You're go from the moment you wake up to the moment you lay your head on that pillow. It's go time, and teams will take advantage of talking to you as much as possible, poking and prodding you as much as possible. That's why with Nix, it's on-field workouts. With McCarthy, it's whiteboard stuff. With Michael Penix, it's medicals. This is a huge week for a lot of players.
Something different for everybody, too, because you just mentioned 3 quarterback prospects and 3 different things that are the most important aspect for each of them. And by the way, another thing about this is at the end of this mental grind, you work out. Workout's the last thing you do.
Right.
You work out, and then they shove you on a plane, say, go home.
We'll see you at your pro day. Yeah.
Yes. So, you've been going from 7 a.m. to midnight, and then, by the way, turn around. It's time to work out, right? But in that regard, you are simulating the type of mental stress that you're going to get in the NFL. Right down to even having to chat with us chuckleheads at one point, right?
Right.
All the players, they get, they get up at the podiums or they sit down at tables and they answer the questions, right? Quarterbacks go on Friday, and then early Friday, like they start at 8 a.m. Eastern time on Friday morning answering our questions. And then the next day they're working out, right? So this is, it's, maybe it's not as important as the film that you put out there, but it matters. It may not be the most important thing, but it matters.
It definitely matters in public opinion as well, because now with the workouts broadcast on NFL Network, and praise be to the maker when that started years ago. I remember I think I still have those recorded on VHS tape of the first combines that were on NFL Network, 20 years ago or whatever, Mace. But now with social networking, you do a great workout, you're going to be trending on Twitter. You have a bad workout or drop a pass or go through the gauntlet, have a pass hit you in the face, whatever, like you're also going to be trending on Twitter. And I think that adds to an extra level of stress here.
It does. And oh, by the way, they take the quarterbacks and they put them on Saturday afternoon, right? They give them the spot when the most people are watching. When people are off and people are home and they are looking for something. Well, here you go. You give them. I mean, shoot. Last year, I was at the quarterback workouts at the combine, and you've got fans in the stands as well. That's another thing. You got media in the stands. You got fans in the stands, and everyone watching on television. There were people who actually booed at one point. Now, these were Colts fans who were quarterback starved. They wanted to fall in love with somebody.
Right.
And, of course, you got a lot of Colts fans that'll show up at the workouts just because it's right there in their backyard in Indianapolis. But there are going to be some people showing up in Broncos jerseys, sitting in the stands, that'll be like, come on, JJ, show me something. Show me something.
Yep. It's a pressure
Bo
cooker.
Nix,
it's a pressure cooker of the NFL, man.
Broncos country wants to fall in love just like Sean Payton does, I think.
Yeah. Unless he's already fallen in love. And this will emphasize, does it back up what you saw on film? That's what we're doing. We're dotting I's and crossing T's. And that's what teams are doing. And that's what they do medically in the interview process and the whiteboard. McCarthy already has a reputation as someone who's brilliant in terms of retaining information. That will be put to the test, likely by the Broncos and others.
Yes, and put to the test over and over. And you know what? There are some teams for whom he may ace it, and there are some teams for whom he may flunk it.
Right.
And that's actually an interesting thing to think about, is if he does well for one team, but then, maybe that burrito that you had earlier in the day isn't settling right. And you get to the interview and you've got this gastrointestinal urge, and all of a sudden you don't answer the questions quite properly because you're worried that you're going to crap your pants. I mean, this is just kind of crazy to think about, but it's the sort of thing that can lead to a variance in results. And if that's the case, maybe you bomb the interview with one team, but you do great with the other. Right. And that one team with whom you bomb, they say, "Oh, we're not going to pick you. We're going to go another direction." He goes to the other team. He ends up doing terrific. I mean, it's like the whole Dak Prescott thing and missing the flight.
Yep.
Headed to Denver back in 2016, right?
And that impacted everything.
Yes.
Yep. Impacted all. That's what it happens. And we've got Daniel Jeremiah talking about quarterback and just what is Sean Payton looking for, right? We're talking up JJ McCarthy. We'll talk about Bo Nix. Both fits for Sean Payton. But what does DJ think Sean Payton is looking for? Joey, let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Yeah, I mean, it's darn near impossible. You do your best to try and figure it out, and you try and watch guys and you try and see and follow their eyes and how they're getting to 1 to 2 to 3 and how quickly they're doing that. But without knowing, how they're coached and what the scheme calls for them to do, it still makes it a little bit difficult. And in the college game, you can win a lot of games on first read throws. They spread people from C to shining C. Pre-snap where you're going with the ball, and you deliver it, and you can win games and get a bunch of big plays that way. So it's a little bit of a different game in that regard. I think there's something to not expecting that immediately once they get to the NFL too. I think there is some room to improve there. So you can bake in some easy completions for guys early in their careers as you're trying to put more on them in terms of the processing, but I'm with him. It's an essential part of the position, but it is something that's not always easy to find.
Okay. The reason why I was putting my finger up, Cecil, is I wanted to kind of explain the background going into that. Sean Payton has said the most important thing is the processor, right? In terms of the evaluation.
Quarterbacks are like computers.
And
you want a fast processor.
Right. And that's what that was about, what Daniel Jeremiah was saying. but it's also the hardest thing to detail. That's why, it's why we have the conversation about Bo Nix so often, because if you look at the micro of the Senior Bowl work when the corners were ahead of the receivers and nobody was getting open and they didn't work on 7-on-7, so the timing with a new group of receivers was off, and Bo Nix looked like he was a little bit slow to kind of make decisions, to commit to the scramble when nothing was open. And that's where you could say, okay, is the processor maybe not as quick as you'd want? But again, like I mentioned, the practice, and you and I have talked about, the practices weren't what you wanted them to be in terms of structure. And so I think that didn't do him any favors either.
How does he show that at the combine then? Because on film, he's going to show a fast processor because he threw a bunch of tunnel screens.
Yes.
So it's like, that's not a fast processor because, as DJ said, you know where you're going with the ball. And at Oregon, and the screen you to death. How does Nix prove that during workouts that his processor is fast going through passing drills where there's no defenders?
That's tough. The thing that he can show is that he can ingest and apply information quickly, and that's where the interviews come into play, because they'll throw something at you, and then 10 minutes later they'll ask you to diagram that on the whiteboard, right? So how quickly did you process it? Look, I mean, all this is why quarterback, it's so hard to find the right person, because it's not just about the physical, it's about the mental. And it's not just about the mental, it's about leadership skills. I mean, there's no position like it in anything in sports.
Right.
And no position hard to fill, because you can have the strongest arm and even the most accurate arm, but if you can't process, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And process quickly. And this is another thing. It's not necessarily like raw intelligence, right? Because you could have a high IQ, but you have to think through things maybe, and that's not going to serve you well in a scenario where you've got to process, you got to ingest, process, and apply like that.
And apologies to Bill Parcells, but it's not always about experience. Not always. I'll think of Ryan Tannehill, and people have varying opinions on Tannehill as a quarterback, but at Texas A&M, he had to play wide receiver 1 year because they were down. So he transferred from quarterback to wide receiver and went back to quarterback. So he didn't get those number of starts and all those sorts of things. And that's why quarterback is so difficult, because it is this combination of physical, emotional, mental, leadership, football intelligence. And sometimes you just don't have that ability to have that experience because of your own college experience, whether you had to wait to start or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to be having this conversation with Arch Manning in a few years? Because he sat on the bench behind Quinn Ewers at Texas, right? I mean, he's headed toward not having the Bill Parcells threshold of starts, right?
Right.
JJ McCarthy doesn't have the Bill Parcells threshold of starts.
Right.
I mean, but if you are talking about experience being the Parcells threshold, which is in terms of completion percentage, starts, wins by the team when you're the starter, it's having graduated from college, etc. Well, some don't meet that. McCarthy, I think, just got the winning percentage in the starts, I think, just over the line. But two who do meet it are Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., right? They meet it in a big way. And so this was something that did come up with Daniel Jeremiah as well, like the value of experience, because Brock Purdy had a lot of experience, not very well thought of as a prospect, but a lot of experience, and look what he did. And that's what led to this line of conversation and this response from Daniel Jeremiah when he met with media a few days ago.
And right now, it seems to be there's a lot of talk and chatter about guys that have experience and have played a lot of games, and Brock Purdy's kind of the poster child for that. But guys that have been in college for a while, you're not going to get the time to develop in the NFL that maybe you would previously, because the financial commitment isn't as big. It's easier for teams to cycle through guys, throw them out there for 2 years. It doesn't work. We can flush them and go on to the next one. So you want them, once they get on the field, and they have to get on the field early, to have some more experience under their belt. And that's been something I think people have given more credence to the last couple of years, is the guys who have some starts, which in this draft, it's interesting because you've got, Nix and Penix who have just played a ton of football. And people can talk about where the ceiling is for these guys, or, how much growth there is. These guys are ready to play. They're going to step in and have a chance to start right away. And it's not going to be too big for them because of all the experience that they have. So that's kind of one of the trends I would say that that's come up a lot lately.
I like that.
And yeah, and of course the other thing is with NIL and the transfer portal, you're going to see more quarterback prospects lingering longer in the college ranks, right?
Yep.
Especially if you're a mid-round prospect, but you're playing at a high, you're playing in, you really can't say Power 5 anymore, but if you're a mid-round prospect and you're playing for a Big Ten or an SEC school, you're probably going to get more playing out one more year in college than you would being a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick in the NFL as a rookie, right?
Right.
And who
You're
knows?
Kirk
Maybe
Cousins
you can.
at Michigan State. You know, those
Yeah.
mid-round guys, Dak Prescott. You're going to be making a bunch of money in Mississippi State.
Was Bo Nix a 1st round quarterback a year ago?
I would say yeah, but some
Okay.
might not.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix did not hurt his stock by coming back though.
Right.
Like he didn't hurt his stock, and he put some more money in the bank, right? I would argue that Michael Penix Jr., even though there's a concern about his injuries and concerns about the performance of the national championship game, I would argue that Michael Penix Jr. helped his stock by going back for this past year at the University of Washington, right? Got some NIL money and played himself into a higher conversation than he would have been at this time last year, right? So that I think you're going to see more quarterbacks that opt for the experience. I mean, I remember the joke a few years ago projecting about Arch Manning. 2026 draft, Denver Broncos, right? Well, I think it might be a little bit longer than that before we talk about Arch Manning in the NFL draft.
Right.
Whether it's at Texas or whether he just says, "Hey, I weighed my time. It's not, not working out. I'm going to go transfer
to CU. Follow up Shedeur.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's what I want, baby. That's what I want. Make it happen.
I think you just gave a thrill up a lot of the legs of people watching this show.
Mm-hmm.
That are CU/Bronco fans.
Right. Be great. Shedeur goes to the NFL as the number 1 pick. Arch Manning takes over.
Who's the OC?
Whoever Arch Manning wants. Sorry, Dion.
So not Pat Shurmur. Who's this OC this year?
Yeah, we don't need
I've
any
got
Pat Shurmur.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's Prime's one. I think that's Prime's biggest mistake so far.
Yep, for sure. 1,000%. You know what is going to be fun, Mace? We are going to see some players, and I'm going to give you one player, and you definitely know his game well. There's one player that I think could be the freak of the combine. And while Daniel Jeremiah said he doesn't expect any sort of running backs in round 1, which I don't either, I've said before, Marshawn Lloyd's my favorite running back in this class. But I look at the interesting, just physical makeup that we haven't seen since Brandon Jacobs, really. I look at Braelon Allen from Wisconsin. Yeah. I think he's going to put up freaky numbers at 6'2", 250, whatever he's listed at. And I think that, come Friday, right? This is Monday's show. Come Friday, people are going to be talking about Braelon Allen. And not in the first round, but still just as like that combine freak with good film to back it up.
Yeah, and it really tailed off for him this past year. New offense, new scheme, and some injuries. And if you're concerned about, maybe something with Braelon Allen, it is, that there were some nicks on him, but very productive, reads holes well. And this is another thing. He did have 597 carries, 49 receptions. So he had over 600 touches. That's not that's not a huge amount, but it's still okay. There's been a little bit of wear,
right?
But one thing, he went to the University of Wisconsin at a very young age. Okay, he made his college debut when he was 17. He's going to be 20 years old when he gets his first carry in the NFL.
Wow. Can't even drink.
Yeah. Can't drink, but he could carry your running game. Braelon Braelon Allen is the type of player where I wish the Broncos had a few more picks, because even though running back is not high on the list of needs, I would be intrigued by him in this scheme. He's got pass catching ability. He had not a great season for him last year in terms of yards per catch, but he averaged 8 yards catch the year before. He's got explosive capability on the ground. But yeah, people are going to say, what if he puts up like if he's 4'8" at 245, 250 pounds, yeah, that's a load.
Yeah.
And it's a young, and he's young.
Yep.
So think about it this way. He goes through his whole rookie contract before he turns 24 years of age. This is somebody who's got plenty of tread on the tires, and running back being a position where you age out quick. That line on his resume, only turned 20 last month. That line, based on what else we got with the film, and if he has good combine numbers, he could be a sleeper to end up maybe as early as late round 2, early round 3.
Yeah, and I don't think for the Broncos, Mace, and you and I will definitely go through this with a fine-tooth comb. Running back is a need. It is. We love Jewell. Hell, we love Javonte. You can't rely on either one. A guy like Marshawn Lloyd in the 3rd, 4th round, he could be your lead back. A guy like Braelon Allen, he could be your lead back. You need a lead back, and they don't have one right now. Yeah.
By the way, a little note on Braelon Allen. Did you know when he was recruited out of high school, it was expected he'd be a linebacker or a safety? Could you imagine him? Yeah, as a safety, man. I mean, talk about like being able to make some Atwater like hits. Woo!
Exactly.
That's gonna make you shake in your boots a little bit if he's a safety. But
yeah,
he'll make you shake in your boots a little bit if he's a running back. But I can truly get on board with the product of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Well, and I'll say I have no idea where that's at. I'm sure you do, Mace. You might have driven through it.
I've driven. It's at the south end of Lake Winnebago. If you drive from Madison to Green Bay, it's basically on the way.
Okay.
Population 44,678. Now I'm just going through the Wikipedia page here. Fond du Lac is French for the bottom or the farthest point of the lake. Du Lac Lake.
Okay.
Because it's at the north to south. It's at the south end, thus on a map at the bottom of Lake Winnebago.
Okay.
That's why. That's where it got its name from.
Fondue Lake. I like it.
You have fondue by the lake?
He's at the bottom of the lake, but he's at the top of your list when it comes to potential running backs. I don't know. That was cheesy.
Nice. That was. I'll allow it. I mean,
Super
it's a travel day for us.
Super quick. It is a travel day for us. You know who else? I cannot wait for the rest of the world to see the Washingtons like we saw on the All-Star road trip. And I don't care if it's Taj Washington, Malik Washington, the Washingtons. You guys are going to go nuts for these guys.
We should have that response at some point, because the way you and I were talking about Malik Washington, Dan Jeremiah was talking about him.
He was raving about him.
Yes. We, of course, he had that signature moment in Shrine Bowl practice. But I mean, that's that type of adjustment, that's and the ability to contort and adjust mid-flight to the ball. That's something, it's pretty regular when you watch him. So again, receiver, not a primary need. This is what, George Payton always says we like having picks. I mean, this is why you want picks, because you want to be able to, you get so excited about some of these prospects, and you want to, I mean, like last year, you and I were talking about A.T. Perry out of Wake Forest, and then we look at the end of the season for New Orleans, he's balling out.
He's making plays.
Yeah. So, oh, well.
We're here. We're there. It's Monday. We're pre-recording.
We're here.
Both of us are traveling. Yes. We're in Indianapolis.
We'll do a soccer. We're here. We're there. We're every bleeping where.
I was gonna say we do the Wayne's World, Indy. Like
he's here.
We're in Indianapolis.
Yeah, we're in Delaware. No, right. I prefer like he's here. He's there. He's every bleeping where. Roy Kent. Yeah, I got the Ted Lasso thing right there.
Okay, there you go. That's a reference for you, brother.
Whatever.
Everybody loves Ted Lasso, except me,
Except you.
because I haven't watched it.
Jinx.
I'm sure it's great. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
you're not a soccer guy. But I don't think you have to be a soccer
I don't think you
person to
need to
watch
be a
the
soccer
show.
guy for Ted Lasso.
I don't think so either. I mean,
Right.
it's a nice bonus, but I don't think you have to be. So
You know what I watch? Orange and Blue Today on YouTube. So help us out on YouTube by doing those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid.
You watch yourself, huh?
Yes.
You watch this show. You watch yourself.
Oh, yes.
I watch myself too. A little more than I used. I used to not be able to watch myself or listen to myself. Ever.
Okay. Yeah.
Could not stand it. I've gotten better at that.
All right.
So,
well, I'm in love with my own self, so that makes sense. Anyway,
you're in love with your hair.
I'm in love with me. At least somebody is. We'll talk more on that when we're in Indianapolis. He's Mace. I'm Cease. OBT is a BFD. Many thanks to Joey. He's the man of the box. And many thanks to you for watching. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty,